My name is Claire, I am 40 years old, and I am a business owner in Marseille. My life seems perfect on the outside, a thriving career, an elegant home, and an artist husband, Nicolas, who fulfills me. But sometimes appearances are deceiving and hide unspoken desires. Since my adolescence, I have always had a secret admiration for my uncle Étienne. At 45, he embodies charisma and wisdom, an intoxicating mix that has always attracted me. He is a respected businessman but also a discreet seducer, whose conquests often fueled family conversations. Our relationship has always been marked by mutual respect and a special complicity that I secretly cherished. It all started one summer evening at a family gathering. Nicolas had gone to Paris for an exhibition, leaving a void that I struggled to fill. Étienne, with his natural charm, approached me as I was contemplating the sea from the terrace. His always reassuring smile awakened feelings in me that I had long buried. "You seem thoughtful tonight, Claire," he said, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. His touch sent shivers through me, awakening a flame I thought had died out. "I'm reflecting on life, on the choices we make," I replied, trying to mask the emotion in my voice. Étienne laughed softly, a laugh that had always melted me. Life is a series of choices, some harder than others. Our conversation drifted to more personal topics, and before I knew it, we were alone on the terrace, the moon lighting up our faces. Étienne dared to ask more intimate questions, questions that broke down my barriers. "And your marriage with Nicolas? You seem so happy." I lowered my eyes, unable to hide the truth from this man who knew me so well. "We are, but sometimes I feel incomplete." Étienne slid his hand under my chin, gently lifting my face so our eyes met. "You are an exceptional woman, Claire. You deserve to feel complete." That night, under the stars, Étienne and I crossed an invisible line. His kiss was soft and passionate, awakening sensations in me that I thought were lost. We shared a night of passion, a night where I forgot my duties as a married woman, giving way to pure emotion. The following weeks were a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Each meeting with Étienne was both intense happiness and unbearable guilt. I juggled my responsibilities as a business owner, my role as a wife, and this secret affair that consumed me. Nicolas, absorbed in his work, seemed to notice nothing, which increased my guilt. Étienne and I developed a ritual. We met in secret at discreet places where we could be ourselves without fear of being discovered. Each moment spent together was a bubble of happiness and escape, a world where only our emotions mattered. I remember our walks, our deep conversations in small hidden cafes, and passionate nights in anonymous hotels. Each rendezvous was an adventure, an escape from time. But this double life was exhausting. The guilt gnawed at me, especially when I saw Nicolas, innocent and trusting, suspecting nothing. Étienne tried to reassure me, but even he felt the weight of our secret. We knew what we were doing was wrong, but we couldn't resist this irresistible attraction. One day, while spending a stolen afternoon with Étienne in a small hotel, Nicolas called me. He had cancelled his trip at the last minute and wanted to spend time with me. The shock of his voice sounded like a death knell, and I understood that our bubble was about to burst. That night, I tried to hide my turmoil, but Nicolas was perceptive. "You seem distant, Claire. Is something wrong?" My heart was pounding, and I knew it was time to face the truth. "Nicolas, we need to talk." I confessed everything to him, every detail of my affair with Étienne. The anger and pain in his eyes were unbearable. "How could you, Claire? With your own uncle?" The days that followed were a nightmare. The news spread through the family like wildfire, and I had to face judgmental looks and whispers. Étienne tried to take responsibility, but it only made things worse. We were both hated, banned from family gatherings. Nicolas and I tried to save our marriage, but the trust was broken. Every look, every word reminded us of the betrayal. Eventually, we decided to separate, realizing that some wounds never fully heal. Today, I live alone. Étienne left town to rebuild his life elsewhere. Our paths have diverged, and although I regret the pain caused, I cannot deny the stolen moments of happiness. This story of infidelity shattered lives but also taught me to understand my own desires and limits. My daily life since this event is a mix of remorse and renewal. I had to relearn to live alone, to manage my life without Nicola's support, but also without my family's disapproving looks. At every family gathering, I feel the weight of betrayal but also the determination to prove that I can rise again. I can't help but think back to our secret meetings with Étienne. Every stolen kiss, every passionate embrace still haunts me. These memories are both sweet and bitter, reminding me of forbidden happiness and crushing guilt. The thrill of the forbidden, the warmth of his arms, and the soft whisper of his words in my ear, all of this remains etched in me. However, despite these memories, the reality of our actions caught up with me. The betrayal of Nicholas, the destruction of our marriage, and the wounds inflicted on our family are facts I cannot ignore. Every day I struggle with this duality, trying to find a balance between the need for redemption and the acceptance of my desires. I also found myself facing questions about my own identity. Who am I really? Why did I feel the need to seek elsewhere what I already had? Étienne offered me an escape, a way to break free from routine and expectations. With him, I could be myself without judgment, exploring facets of my personality I never dared show Nicholas. But this freedom came at a price. The pain of separation, the feeling of loss, and the guilt overwhelmed me. I had to learn to live with these emotions, to accept them as part of my journey. Étienne's letters, though comforting, were also constant reminders of what we had lost. Étienne's letters were full of regrets and nostalgia. He wrote to me about the memories we shared, the moments of complicity and passion. He also confided his own struggles to rebuild far from our family. Although his words were comforting, they also revived the pain of our separation. Yet they also reminded me that despite everything, we had shared something real and intense. I remember our escapades, those stolen moments where we could be ourselves without fearing the judgment of others. We explored facets of ourselves that we ignored. Étienne made me rediscover pleasure, passion, and even carefreeness. With him, I was free from all expectations, from all the roles I had to play. But this freedom came at a price we are still paying today. Our meetings were always tinged with forbidden excitement. The thrill of the forbidden, the adrenaline of each stolen kiss, each hidden caress. These memories haunt me, warm me, and torture me at the same time. The softness of his lips, the firmness of his arms, the warmth of his breath against my skin. I miss all of it, even though I know it could never last. Nicholas and I tried to put the pieces back together after the truth came out, but the trust was irrevocably broken. It took me time to understand the extent of the wound I had caused. The pain in his eyes, the weight of his betrayal. It was unbearable. We tried, but every effort seemed in vain, every word a painful reminder of what had been lost. In the end, we decided to separate. It was the hardest decision of my life, but also the most necessary. We needed to heal each on our own. The house we shared became a place of pain and memories. Leaving it was an essential step to move forward. Solitude was an immense challenge. Taking control of my life without Nicola's support was exhausting. I had to relearn to love myself, to forgive myself. The first nights alone were the worst. Every silence echoed as a reminder of what I had lost. I often cried, wondering if I deserved happiness after everything I had caused. Despite everything, I found ways to rebuild myself. I started writing, putting my thoughts and feelings on paper. It was a form of therapy, a way to organize the inner chaos and find a form of catharsis. These writings are not meant to be published, but they are a part of me, proof of my resilience. I also reconnected with friends I had neglected. Their support was invaluable. They listened without judgment, offered their shoulder to cry on and their laughter to forget. They were my anchor in this storm, reminding me that I was not alone. My relationships with my family remained tense, but little by little, I tried to rebuild bridges. Every small gesture, every word of support from them was a step toward healing. The road is long, and trust takes time to rebuild, but I am ready to make the necessary efforts. Étienne remains a bittersweet memory. His letters are a constant reminder of our past, but also an encouragement to move forward. He encourages me to find a way to live without him, to build a future without the ghosts of our affair. And although it is painful, I know he is right. I continue to learn to live with my mistakes. They are part of me, part of my story. But they do not define me. Every day is a new chance to grow, to change, to move forward. I take each day as it comes, trying to find a balance between my responsibilities and my quest for personal redemption. The road to healing is long and winding, but it is also full of discoveries and surprises. I have learned to forgive myself, to accept my imperfections, and to embrace the uncertainty of the future. Life is a journey, not a destination, and each step, even the most painful, is an opportunity to grow. One day, perhaps, I will meet someone to share my life with, someone who can accept my past and love me for the person I have become. For now, I focus on myself, on my personal growth, and on rebuilding my life. The memories of my affair with Étienne remain, but they no longer haunt me in the same way. They are part of my story, a complex and imperfect story, but one that has brought me to where I am today. And even though the road is still long, I am ready to take it one step at a time, with hope and determination to create a life that truly reflects who I am. I remember those stolen moments with painful precision. The hours spent talking in dark corners of little cafes where each exchanged smile was a shared secret. The walks along the alleys, hand in hand, where we felt invisible to the world, free from judgments. Every stolen kiss was an adventure, every caress a silent promise. Étienne had a way of looking at me that made me feel alive, desired. With him, I was free to be myself without the constraints of my daily life. He really listened to me, as if every word I said had crucial importance. His advice was full of wisdom, and his presence a constant comfort. Every moment spent with him was like a breath of fresh air, an escape from the oppressive reality of my marriage. There were moments when guilt brutally caught up with me. The nights when I returned home to find Nicolas, his eyes full of love and trust, tore my heart apart. I wondered how I could let things go so far, how I could betray the man who had always supported me. But at the same time, the feelings I had for Étienne were real, palpable. It was like living two parallel lives, each with its own joys and sorrows. Meetings with Étienne were often improvised, a delicate dance between desire and caution. We met in discreet places where no one could recognize us. Every rendezvous was an adventure in itself, an escape from the ordinary. The hotels where we took refuge were sanctuaries, places where we could be ourselves, far from prying eyes. The passion between us was burning, every embrace marked by an almost desperate intensity. I particularly remember a weekend we spent together, far from everything. Étienne had rented a small house by the sea, an isolated place where we could be together without fear. It was 2 days of pure happiness, where every moment was filled with laughter, deep conversations, and intimate moments. We walked on the beach, hand in hand, talking about our dreams and fears. These moments remain etched in my memory, precious memories of a time when we could be ourselves without judgment. However, these stolen moments of happiness were always followed by the cruel reality of our situation. Guilt always returned stronger after each meeting. Étienne felt it too, even though he tried to reassure me. We both knew our relationship was doomed to fail, that we were hurting those we loved. But giving up on each other seemed impossible. The lure of the forbidden was too strong, the passion too intense. Eventually, reality caught up with us. Nicolas discovered the truth, and our world collapsed. The pain of seeing his heart broken, of feeling his trust betrayed, was unbearable. I confessed everything, hoping perhaps for a form of redemption. But the words seemed empty in the face of the depth of the wound I had inflicted. The days that followed the revelation were the darkest of my life. Family and friends all seemed to look at me with judgmental eyes. Étienne and I tried to keep seeing each other, but the pressure was too great. Every meeting was tinged with guilt and pain. Eventually, we decided to separate, to take different paths to try to rebuild our lives. Étienne left town, seeking to rebuild himself far from the storm we had created. His letters, though comforting, were also constant reminders of our past. He wrote to me about his new life, his attempts to move forward. His words were full of regrets but also a certain wisdom. He encouraged me to find my own path, to forgive myself and move on. Life without Étienne was an immense challenge. The memories of our time together haunted me, and solitude was overwhelming. I tried to focus on my work, on my friends, but nothing seemed to fill the void left by his absence. Every day was a struggle to find meaning, to find a way to continue. Little by little, I began to rebuild myself. I found comfort in writing, in therapy, and in the little joys of daily life. I learned to forgive myself, to accept my mistakes as part of my journey. I reconnected with friends, found support in unexpected places. My relationships with my family slowly improved, each small gesture of support being a step toward healing. Nicholas and I kept in touch, although our conversations were rare and often tinged with sadness. He found refuge in his art, and his recent works reflect the pain and betrayal he feels. Every exhibition of his paintings is a reminder of our shared past, and I try to find meaning, a lesson to be learned from it all. I have learned to live with my mistakes. They are part of me, part of my story. But they do not define me. Every day is a new chance to grow, to change, to move forward. I take each day as it comes, trying to find a balance between my responsibilities and my quest for personal redemption. The road to healing is long and winding, but it is also full of discoveries and surprises. I have learned to forgive myself, to accept my imperfections, and to embrace the uncertainty of the future. Life is a journey, not a destination, and each step, even the most painful, is an opportunity to grow. One day, perhaps, I will meet someone to share my life with, someone who can accept my past and love me for the person I have become. For now, I focus on myself, on my personal growth, and on rebuilding my life. The memories of my affair with Étienne remain, but they no longer haunt me in the same way. They are part of my story, a complex and imperfect story, but one that has brought me to where I am today. And even though the road is still long, I am ready to take it one step at a time, with hope and determination to create a life that truly reflects who I am.